The chamber of the Galactic Empire was built to intimidate. Its ceiling stretched high, carved from black stone brought from the heart of dead worlds. Light shimmered from crystal lamps that floated in the air, throwing cold shadows across the faces of the council. The rulers of the greatest empire in the galaxy sat in silence, their eyes fixed on a trembling messenger who had just entered the hall. He was small compared to them, his thin body wrapped in the gray uniform of the scout fleets. His voice cracked as he spoke, yet every word carried like a blade. "They fought us on the edge of the Lorien sector," he whispered. "Not with fleets, not with armies, only with a handful of soldiers. And still, we retreated." The chamber stirred. Voices rose, but none dared to laugh at the report. These were not jokes. This was not a story told in bars. This was a message delivered straight from the battlefield. One of the counselors leaned forward, his silver scales catching the light. "You mean to say that humans fought you without ships? Without numbers? That they forced an Imperial fleet to withdraw?" The messenger's eyes flickered, shameful and frightened. "Yes, counselor. They fought with weapons that should have been nothing against ours. Yet they broke us and we fled." A silence followed, heavy as a tomb. The Empire was vast. It ruled hundreds of worlds, commanded fleets so large that stars themselves seemed smaller. And yet here was a report of one colony, one scattered group of humans, turning back the tide of a force that had crushed countless civilizations before. One voice from the shadows growled, "Impossible," but another voice, sharp and nervous, cut in. "It matches the other reports." Heads turned. Other reports? A different commander, his robe marked with the blue of intelligence ranks, stepped forward. He carried a datapad in his long, clawed hands. 3 cycles ago, on the frontier of the Carrion Belt, a squad of human miners held off an entire regiment of soldiers. The regiment never returned. 2 weeks ago at Talaran, a single human ship defeated 6 of ours before vanishing into the clouds of the nebula. And now, he gestured at the shaking messenger, now we hear of a retreat against only a handful of their soldiers. The council erupted. Some shouted for war, for extermination before humans could spread further. Others shouted for caution, for diplomacy, anything that would buy time. But beneath the noise, fear grew. It whispered through the chamber like a cold wind. Humans had always been strange. Their numbers were few compared to the other species of the galaxy. Their worlds were scattered. Their technology, while clever, was not more advanced than that of the Empire. And yet time after time, stories came of battles where humans stood when others would fall. No one knew why. Some said it was madness, that humans lacked the sense of fear that guided survival. Some said it was their strange way of uniting under pressure, of fighting harder the more desperate the situation became. Some said it was something deeper, something in their blood, in their history that made them impossible to break. The council chamber echoed with arguments. But the quiet truth sat heavy in every mind. If this was what small groups of humans could do, what would happen when their real armies came? The question was never spoken aloud, yet it weighed like iron chains. Outside the chamber, whispers carried down the halls. Servants and guards repeated fragments of what they had overheard. By nightfall, the entire capital buzzed with rumor. The humans have a secret army. The humans fight like no other. The humans are more dangerous than anyone imagined. In the streets below the golden towers of the Empire's capital, alien merchants muttered as they sold their goods. Soldiers at the barracks swapped fearful stories. Even children repeated the tale, their voices tinged with awe. Fear had taken root, not because of what was seen, but because of what was not seen. The humans' true army had not yet appeared, but already the galaxy felt its shadow. In the council chamber, the Emperor himself finally spoke. His voice was old, dry, yet powerful enough to silence the arguments at once. "You all feel it," he said. "Fear. The humans have given it to you without even trying. A few battles, a few scattered victories, and you already tremble. Imagine then what their true army might be." The counselors lowered their eyes. None dared to answer. The Emperor leaned back in his throne, the crystals above casting sharp light across his ancient face. "Perhaps they have no army at all. Perhaps they let you believe in one. And if that is true," his voice dropped colder than the void, "then their greatest weapon is not their fleet, but your fear." A silence followed, deeper than any before. The messenger was dismissed, his body weak, his mind still trapped in the memory of humans standing against him. The council dissolved slowly, Each ruler lost in thought, each already haunted by the vision of an unseen force waiting beyond the stars. And far from the capital, across distant systems, the whispers spread. At trading ports and mining colonies in the quiet reaches of the galaxy where smugglers gathered, the story grew. Humans were different. Humans were dangerous. The Empire was afraid. The stars themselves seemed to listen as the whisper traveled further, carried on the breath of every frightened voice. Aliens already feared humanity, and humanity's real army had not even come. The Lorien sector had always been a quiet stretch of space, dotted with mining colonies and research stations. To the Galactic Empire it was insignificant, a place where fleets could patrol lazily and soldiers could train without interference. Until the humans arrived, a single scout ship entered the system first, sleek and unassuming. No more than 50 meters long, its hull shimmered with reflective armor, nothing like the monstrous warships of the Empire. It passed silently through patrol routes, leaving sensors confused. The Empire detected something, yes, but its size suggested it was no threat. Perhaps a cargo vessel. Perhaps a mining craft, but it was not. From the ship, humans disembarked, no more than 20, armed lightly. They wore nothing extraordinary, only suits designed for protection in low gravity. They carried simple weapons, nothing that could pierce the hull of an Imperial cruiser. And yet the humans moved with precision, every step measured, every breath controlled. The first encounter occurred on the planet's surface. A squadron of the Empire's soldiers landed, expecting a quick show of dominance. They had done this 1,000 times before. Planets fell, colonies surrendered, resistance crushed. But these humans were different. They were silent, watching, waiting. When the Empire's soldiers advanced, the humans did not panic. They did not scatter. Their movements were synchronized, almost too perfect, as if they had fought this battle countless times before. They used the terrain, hiding behind rocks and walls, vanishing before bullets could find them. When they struck, it was decisive. One human could disable 3 soldiers with minimal effort. Their attacks were precise, not chaotic. Reports flooded back to the Imperial command. The humans did not have the fleet. They did not have reinforcements, yet their presence alone was enough to make trained soldiers retreat, to question their own strength. The humans, a commander said during a holographic briefing, are not ordinary. They are something else. Another officer scoffed. They are only humans. They cannot match our technology or numbers. Perhaps, said the first, his voice low, but their courage and tactics are unmatched. They fight without fear, and fear spreads faster than any army. Meanwhile, the humans continued to move like shadows. No signal betrayed their location. No transmissions revealed strategy. They appeared where the Empire least expected, striking and vanishing before anyone could respond. Alien spies reported back in disbelief. One human with nothing but a small weapon destroyed a patrol drone fleet. Another held an entire checkpoint alone, convincing 20 soldiers to surrender without firing a shot. The Empire struggled to understand. Their databases had no record of such human capability. No training manuals suggested tactics like this, and the soldiers themselves whispered tales of humans moving faster, thinking faster, and striking with precision that defied comprehension. Every victory, small as it seemed, spread terror further. Word of humans resisting without an army, of soldiers withdrawing before a real fight began, reached the Empire's upper ranks. Panic began to grow in subtle ways, an unexpected hesitation in decision-making, a nervous glance between commanders, a slight tremor in the voice during reports. The Lorien sector became a proving ground, not for humans but for the Empire's own fear. Every attempt to corner or trap them failed. Every scout mission ended with unexpected casualties, and every failure made the Empire wonder, if this is only a few humans, what happens when the real army arrives? On the human side, no one spoke of fear or triumph. They moved silently, efficiently, as though the entire galaxy's tension was nothing to them. Their unity was absolute and their strategy flawless. The Empire had assumed human disorganization, assumed panic, assumed weakness. They had assumed wrong. Night fell on the colonies, but even then the humans remained vigilant. Imperial troops reported shadows that vanished into walls, whispers in the wind that hinted at movement, and eyes that seemed to see far beyond the present moment. It was as if humanity had become more than flesh and bone. They had become an idea that struck fear before battle began. In the capital, the council met again. Maps flickered on holographic screens showing human positions. Imperial generals argued furiously, attempting to interpret their movements. But every theory crumbled under observation. The humans were unpredictable yet calculated, fearless yet careful. One commander, weary and pale, finally spoke. They are not just soldiers. They are shadows of power, small, quiet, and impossible to destroy. If this is what humans can do with only a few, imagine what their real forces could accomplish. A chill passed through the council chamber. Even the bravest aliens felt it, the weight of an unseen enemy capable of reshaping the galaxy with minimal effort. The Empire's fear spread beyond the council. Colonists whispered about human shadows striking in the night. Merchants refused to transport supplies through systems where humans had been seen. Soldiers questioned orders, second-guessing strategies. Fear became a contagion, spreading faster than fleets or weapons ever could. And yet the humans remained unseen in full force. Their true army, hidden across distant systems, had not yet revealed itself. All that existed were shadows of power, brief glimpses of skill and courage, enough to make the Empire tremble. The whispers of fear had begun. And in the silence between fleets and battles, humanity's reputation grew stronger than any weapon. The galaxy had begun to learn a dangerous lesson. Sometimes, the mere hint of true strength was more powerful than the strength itself. Aliens feared humans not for what they had seen, but for what they had not yet seen, and that fear would spread further with every shadow, every victory, and every silent step of humanity's unseen army. The galactic capital had never seen a visitor like this. The vast docking bay stretched endlessly, polished black metal reflecting the cold lights above. Alien guards lined the corridors, their antennae twitching nervously as a single human ship glided in. It was small, almost insignificant compared to the capital's enormous docking platforms, yet its quiet confidence spoke volumes. No alarms were triggered. No fleets scrambled. The human vessel did not broadcast a single signal. It simply appeared, silent, drifting toward the heart of the Empire. Every alien in the bay paused, instinctively sensing that this was no ordinary ship. Inside, the pilot was calm, his movements precise, measured as if he had traveled across galaxies 1,000 times. His mission was simple: deliver a message, yet the weight of that message carried more power than fleets or weapons. Word spread quickly throughout the capital. A human had arrived. Not an army, not a fleet, just one individual, and still the Empire trembled. At the Imperial Council, reports flooded in. Holoscreens flickered with live feeds from the docking bay. The counselors leaned forward, eyes wide. This was the human they had feared, not seen, not tested, only whispered about in shadowed corridors. The human emerged from the ship. He was unarmed, wearing nothing but a simple uniform, his posture straight and confident. He made no gestures of submission, no signs of fear, only a calm presence that seemed to fill the vast hall. The Emperor's voice echoed across the chamber. Who dares enter the heart of our empire without permission? The human's reply was measured, quiet, yet it carried through every corner of the hall. I am not here to fight. I am here to deliver a warning. A murmur passed through the council. They had expected threats, maybe arrogance or even bluffing, but the human spoke with a serenity that unsettled them. Calmness in the face of the most powerful rulers in the galaxy was unfamiliar, and it terrified them more than weapons could. Your fleets are impressive, the human continued, and your soldiers are disciplined. But you have already begun to fear us. You tremble before our real army has even arrived. I am here to remind you, fear can be your greatest weakness. Some counselors whispered to one another. The words were strange, almost absurd, yet their eyes betrayed the truth. Even now, with no battle fought, the humans had already gained the upper hand. Outside the capital, the Empire's scouts watched. They reported every movement of the human envoy, yet none could find a flaw. No hesitation, no misstep. The human moved like a shadow, present but untouchable. The aliens attempted a small test. A security drone hovered near the human, scanning, attempting to identify hidden weapons. The human did not flinch. He did not attempt to flee or hide. He simply stood calm, allowing the drone to complete its sweep, and then he walked past it. Slowly, deliberately, showing that he was untouchable, not through power but through confidence and intelligence. Every officer observing the scene felt an unease settle deep in their chest. "They are different," said one of the senior commanders, a pale alien with ridged skin. "I do not understand how one human can enter the capital without fear and not be stopped." Another shook his head. "It is not physical strength. It is their mind, their presence." Inside the council chamber, the human's warning became more than words. It became a demonstration. Every step he took, every glance he cast made the Empire realize their previous calculations were useless. They had relied on fleets, on numbers, on strategies, and yet none of it mattered. Humans had a way of turning fear into a weapon without firing a single shot. The human paused before the Emperor. He did not bow. He did not kneel. He simply looked, eyes calm and unwavering, as if seeing not just the ruler but every soul in the room. "Your empire is vast," he said quietly. "But it is fragile. Fear spreads faster than your fleets, and already it has spread here. You have begun to doubt yourselves even before meeting our true army. That is why you tremble." The Emperor leaned back, his face a mask of fury and confusion. He had fought countless wars, commanded entire fleets, yet he felt powerless. The human did not wield a weapon, yet he held the entire chamber in check. Outside, alien soldiers reported strange phenomena. Drones malfunctioned near the human ship, not from any electronic interference, but from a sense of unease. Their minds struggled to interpret what they were witnessing. Humans had come, and yet they had not even started a fight. Still, the fear was real. As the human departed the capital, leaving only his message behind, the Empire was left in disarray. Councils argued, commanders hesitated, and fleets were delayed. No one could predict the human's next move. The true army remained unseen, scattered across the galaxy. But even the whisper of its presence had shattered the Empire's confidence. In the shadows of distant systems, humans watched. They did not celebrate. They did not boast. They waited. Every movement was calculated, every action purposeful. The galaxy had seen only a fraction of their power, yet fear had already taken hold. And somewhere in the Empire, in quiet rooms where decisions were made, the words of the human echoed over and over. "You tremble before our army has even arrived. Imagine what happens when it does." The silent arrival had changed everything. Humanity had shown that courage, intelligence, and confidence were enough to unsettle the strongest empire. Weapons were unnecessary when fear could be wielded as a tool. The galaxy had begun to understand a new truth. Humans were unpredictable, unstoppable, and their shadows already darkened every corner of the stars. The real army had not even arrived, and yet the Empire already feared humanity. The halls of the galactic capital were alive with tension. Normally orderly discussions turned into heated arguments, as alien generals, advisors, and senators struggled to grasp the scale of the threat humanity posed. Yet no human army had yet arrived. No fleets had been deployed. And still the Empire quaked. The council chamber had become a battlefield of ideas. One side demanded immediate strikes, sweeping assaults on human-controlled systems before the so-called army could consolidate. Another side begged caution, warning that rash action would provoke the humans unnecessarily. But behind every argument, the same fear lingered, a quiet, gnawing dread that had begun to take hold of the Empire. A holographic map of the sector rotated slowly in the center of the chamber, showing reports from scouts, spies, and intelligence networks. Red dots marked human sightings. Each dot was small, insignificant in size, but the stories attached to them made them loom larger than any fleet of warships. "Every encounter has been unpredictable," said General Clith, a veteran of countless campaigns. His eyes darted to the map, voice tight. "Small groups of humans, unarmed, unprotected, yet they routed our patrols. They disappear before we can respond, and they leave fear in their wake." A younger senator, her antennae quivering with frustration, slammed her clawed hand on the table. "This is absurd. How can a species so weak, so scattered, make our fleets hesitate? They cannot possibly be a true threat." General Clith shook his head slowly. "Weak? No. They are shadows of power. Their strength is in how they make us perceive them. Every encounter teaches us that we are never certain of what humans will do next. We cannot predict them. We cannot control them. And that uncertainty spreads panic faster than any weapon." Whispers ran through the council chamber. Alien commanders exchanged nervous glances. Even those who were not directly responsible for fleets felt the ripple of fear. It had spread like a virus, infecting every level of the Empire's hierarchy. Meanwhile, in distant star systems, humans continued their quiet operations. Colonies they had visited reported only efficiency, not violence. Plans executed flawlessly. Patrols avoided conflict when possible. Yet when engagement was necessary, humans struck with deadly precision. Each success, small as it might appear, added to the reputation of the unseen army waiting beyond the stars. Back in the capital, the Emperor called for a demonstration. He summoned a team of elite soldiers, the Empire's finest warriors, and ordered them to capture a human scout operating in a neighboring sector. It was meant to prove that humans were not invincible, that the Empire's strength was still unmatched. The mission was meticulously planned. Calculations were made, contingencies prepared. Fleets moved into position, ambushes were set, and the humans were expected to be caught easily. They were not. The humans appeared exactly where the Empire did not expect. Using nothing more than clever misdirection and stealth, they evaded every trap. When contact was made, a small team of human operatives immobilized dozens of elite soldiers in mere minutes, without sustaining a single casualty themselves. Every move seemed almost impossible, yet it was true. Reports returned to the capital. Screens flashed with images of Imperial soldiers surrendering or retreating, weapons untouched, morale shattered. The council chamber fell silent as the information spread. The Emperor's face, already pale, tightened into a mask of rage and disbelief. "They are testing us," whispered one advisor. "Or they are teaching us fear." The Emperor's hands clenched on the arms of his throne. "Fear?" he barked. "We command fleets across hundreds of worlds. We crush rebellions before they even begin. How can we fear them?" The answer was simple, though unspoken. Because humans did not fight the way anyone expected. They used cunning, courage, and unpredictability as weapons. They moved silently through the galaxy, and every small victory amplified the legend of the army that had not yet appeared. Even the citizens of the Empire began to sense the change. Merchants whispered about human shadows striking in remote systems. Soldiers questioned orders, doubting whether they could face the enemy. Intelligence reports were no longer taken at face value. Fear had poisoned judgment. The Empire's foundations, once steady and unyielding, began to shake, not from battle, but from anticipation. The unseen army had become a storm on the horizon. Every commander knew that when the humans finally deployed their true forces, it would be more than a battle. It would be a reckoning. And yet, the humans themselves remained silent, calm, and invisible. They moved with purpose, their motives unknown, their strategy untraceable. The Empire's panic grew not because of what humans had done, but because of what they had not yet done. One final report reached the Emperor. A single human scout had negotiated the surrender of an entire system without firing a shot. Soldiers who had been trained for years yielded to humans they had never met. Diplomacy and fear had achieved what fleets could not. The Emperor leaned back, his mind racing. "Perhaps," he murmured to no one in particular, "perhaps their greatest weapon is not their strength, nor their strategy, but our own terror of them." The council chamber erupted again in arguments, but the words now rang hollow. Fear had already taken root. Decisions were delayed, commands hesitated, and fleets that should have moved swiftly remained idle. Humanity's presence, quiet, measured, and deliberate, had shaken the entire Empire to its core. The Empire had survived countless wars, conquered countless species, and dominated the galaxy with unmatched power. Yet now it was unsteady, fragile, uncertain, and all of it had begun long before humanity's true army had revealed itself. The shadows of power had done their work. The Empire was shaken, and humanity's real strength was still waiting, silent, unseen, and unstoppable. The galaxy held its breath. Even the most distant star systems could feel it. The tension, the quiet tremor that ran through the void. The Empire's fleets, once proud and swift, remained anchored in uncertainty. No orders were final. No commander acted without hesitation, and everywhere the same question echoed in the minds of the alien rulers. Where is the real human army? Humans had not deployed their grand fleets. They had not struck with overwhelming force. They had done nothing that could be measured by numbers or technology. Yet their presence, their quiet victories, and their disciplined courage had spread fear farther than any weapon could. In the heart of the Empire, the Emperor paced. His throne room was silent, lit only by the glow of the city beyond the enormous windows. Hollow screens showed fleets waiting in limbo, entire sectors immobilized by rumors and whispers. He knew that his decisions were no longer enough. The humans had taken control without firing a single shot. Fear has become their weapon, he muttered to himself, voice low, almost lost in the vast chamber, and we are defenseless against it. Outside the capital, human scouts moved with precision. In distant colonies, humans coordinated defenses and resources, yet nothing suggested a massive army ready for battle. Their true strength remained hidden. Every planet, every system, every fleet that humans touched grew stronger yet unseen. It was a phantom force, a shadow on the Empire's heart. Reports from the frontiers continued to unsettle Imperial commanders. Small groups of humans resisted attacks, captured positions, and even forced surrender, all without reinforcements. Ships that had expected easy victories returned crippled. Patrols reported sightings of humans in places they should not have been, appearing almost impossibly, striking efficiently, and vanishing without a trace. The Empire's fear was not irrational. Every failure, every unexpected human maneuver confirmed it. The humans were not a conventional threat. They were a force of strategy, of psychology, and of courage. They had made the Empire doubt its own supremacy. In the council chambers, arguments grew louder, but no solution emerged. The generals knew that even if they struck immediately, humans could outmaneuver them. Even if fleets attacked simultaneously, the humans could vanish, strike again, and amplify fear across entire sectors. Every calculation failed. Every plan collapsed under the unpredictability of humanity. Meanwhile, the humans waited. Their silence was deliberate, their patience unyielding. They had no desire for reckless confrontation. Their power was not in destruction, but in control. The quiet, unwavering command of space and fear alike. On a remote observation post, an alien analyst whispered to a colleague, voice shaking, "Do you realize? We are afraid of something we have never fully seen. Their real army has not even arrived, and still our morale crumbles." The colleague nodded wide-eyed. "If what we have seen is only a glimpse, then the full force. We cannot imagine it. We cannot prepare for it." The human strategy was working perfectly. Fear had become a weapon that needed no physical form. Entire fleets hesitated. Decisions were postponed. Territories remained unclaimed. The Empire, vast and powerful, had been reduced to a state of waiting, reacting, and doubting itself. Even the citizens of the Empire sensed the change. Markets slowed. Soldiers questioned orders. Spies reported false sightings, spreading panic further. Every corner of the Empire felt the pressure, yet no human force had moved in full. Only the whispers, the shadows, and the hint of true power had done this. Then from the depths of space, the first reports of the human fleets began to emerge. Not in numbers, not in firepower, but in movements that were impossible to track. Ships appeared where they were least expected. Communications seemed to follow no pattern. Their presence was subtle, quiet, and yet enough to paralyze entire sectors with uncertainty. The Emperor finally addressed his council. His voice, usually commanding and confident, trembled slightly. "We cannot fight what we cannot see. We cannot defeat what we do not understand. And every step we take only strengthens their legend. Fear is their army, and it moves faster than any fleet." Outside, the galaxy seemed to pause. Stars glimmered as though holding their breath. Entire fleets froze in anticipation. The humans had not fired a shot. Yet every being in the Empire's reach felt the weight of their invisible power. The final realization settled over the Empire like a cold shadow. They had already lost, not to weapons, not to numbers, but to the certainty of human will. Humanity's strength was in unpredictability, courage, and the silent promise of overwhelming force yet unseen. And in the darkness between stars, humans watched and waited. Their shadows stretched across the galaxy, their presence known yet unseen. They would strike when the time was right. Until then, fear alone carried the message of their power. The Empire shuddered, fleets hesitated, and minds doubted themselves. And still the real army had not arrived. Yet fear had already won the first battle.